are going to be talking all about snacks and avoiding the quarantine 15. All right, I muted most people, or I muted everybody, but you do have the ability to unmute yourself just because there are, I think there's 35 of us in here right now. So there's lots going on. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is so exciting. This is a great turnout. I'm going to do introductions in a second. I do want to let you know we are recording this just because we do have some interest. Some people wanted to attend but couldn't make it, so we figured we would record it and put this out there for other people to see. So if you don't want to be part of our recording, you can just turn your video off and we don't have to see you, although I'm sure nobody would mind seeing you. It's pretty cool. So thank you guys so much. Many of you are either coaches of ours or clients of ours or members of one of our local boxes, or you follow us on Instagram, and we're so excited to have you here. Move the Needle is a nutrition, wellness, and fitness company. We specialize in one-on-one nutrition coaching. During this crazy, hectic time, the most value that we feel like we can provide is education. And so we're super excited. We're going to start to do a couple more seminars. We're going to strive for 2 a week. And we are going to just, teach you guys about all the topics that we are passionate about. So we're so pumped that you're here. So I am Sara, one of the nutrition coaches for Move the Needle, if you don't know me. I am from Poughkeepsie, New York. I work out at Warlock CrossFit, very passionate about CrossFit. But I also have Jenn here with me, and she's going to co-host this seminar. Jenn, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so my name is Jenn McKay. I live up in Maine. I'm one of the nutrition coaches for Move the Needle, and I'm also a coach and a member of CrossFit 321 in Topsom, Maine. And I was a teacher before becoming a principal, so being able to do these nutrition seminars is really exciting because it kind of gets me back into that teaching mode again. So I'm pretty thrilled to be doing this tonight.
Cool. All right, and then just shout out some of our other coaches who are with us, and they are welcome to join in and chime in whenever they like. We have Heather. We have Kat. We have Tyler. We have Courtney. So some of these are new faces for you guys that you maybe have not met before, which is pretty cool. We have Christy. And we have Bren, whose video is off. All right, so awesome. Thanks guys for coming again. This is so cool. If you guys throughout the seminar have questions that you want to put out there, there is a chat feature, so you can type up your question, or you can, unmute yourself and yell at us until we pay attention to you. That's cool too. I am going to share a file with everyone right now through the chat. It just kind of overviews what we are going to be talking about. And it's a good takeaway for you guys just as we are chatting. You can, take a look and follow along with us. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go over some tips for, I haven't signed out. Okay. Am I still with everyone? Okay.
I can hear you and see you.
It said I was signed out. That was okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some tips for snacking. We're going to share some of our favorite snacks, and then we're going to talk about some swaps. So Jenn, do you want to get started with our first tip?
Sure. So this kind of got going because a lot of my clients were reaching out and saying that things are really hard right now. They're home all the time, and the pantry and the refrigerator are right there. And they're also stressed out, and they're finding themselves really drawn to eating all day long and snacking all day long and not always making the best choices for snacks. So the first tip is, in the moment, if you can make the good things easy and the not so good things hard. And what I mean by that is the more tempting treats, if you don't bring them home or you don't keep them convenient to you, and the things that are more healthy for you, if you can have them prepped and ready to go and right at hand when you get snacky, then you're more likely to make a good choice. So keep the good things easy and keep the not so good things a little more challenging to have to get.
Right. So I have shared with many of my clients where I keep my chocolate, and I have chocolate. It is in a jar. It's got a like a seal, and it is above my oven, like at that high cabinet, that tiny cabinet that nobody uses, that's above the stove, and it's up there, and it's behind all of these other glasses that I don't use. And if I need to go for the chocolate, I have to get a step stool. I have to take down all the glasses, and then I have to go up into the jar. So just keeping it out of the way keeps it, out of sight, out of mind, things like that. If you cannot have these things in the house to begin with, obviously that's going to help you out. Another good tip is when you are snacking, put your snack in a bowl or on a plate and walk out of the kitchen and eat it wherever you're going to eat it. If you take the box with you, if you take the bag with you, you're most likely going to finish the box or the bag, or you're just going to mindlessly eat. And you're not going to pay attention to how you're eating. If you're a person who does macros, then if you weigh it beforehand, put it in your bowl and leave, that's going to help you as well. All right, so that's tip number one. Make the good things easy and the hard things, and the not so good things harder. Tip number two is to drink a big glass of water first. So oftentimes when you are craving a snack, it's not because you're actually hungry, it's because you're actually dehydrated or thirsty. So drinking a glass of water, waiting 10 minutes, and then coming back to kind of reassess and say, am I still hungry? That will help. Also, if you put some lemon in there and kind of change the flavor of it, you might find that, especially if you were going for something sweet, that you're not craving it as much anymore.
Water can be really filling too, so sometimes it can take the edge off that feeling really hungry piece.
Cool.
The third thing that I jotted down was to use a physical distraction. So if you're feeling really snacky, you can always get up and try to move, go for a walk, do some stretching, do some mobility work, and see if getting your body moving kind of takes that snack feeling away. So you can always get moving as a distractor.
Absolutely. The next one, which is one of my favorites, and I love Jenn's term for it, is use a palate distractor, which just means put something else in your mouth that's going to change the taste in your mouth, and you'll find that maybe you don't crave a snack as much anymore. So what we mean by this is like, go brush your teeth, swig some mouthwash, chew gum, go for something sour like lemon water. So mint, lemon, those kind of things. It's going to kind of just change the sensation that you have in your mouth. Oftentimes also, if you brush your teeth, you're not going to want to have chocolate afterwards. So after dinner, get up, brush your teeth. You're going to find that you don't want dessert anymore, because then you're going to have to brush your teeth again, just making it more inconvenient. It's kind of just that brain hack that's really helpful.
One of the favorite things that I use, I brought a prop. I don't know if you've tried Stash tea, but they make a great mint tea. It has a nice strong mint flavor. So like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm starting to kind of get that itch, that's not off for a while. So mint tea is a good palate distractor for sure.
Awesome. All right, so tip number 4, and this is one that Tyler actually uses also, is think of HALT, H-A-L-T. And what HALT stands for is hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And this is the reason, my actual job is I'm a special ed teacher. And this is the reason I had a chocolate bar in my desk, is when I was stressed, I would go for the chocolate. And it's not because I was hungry. It's not even because I wanted chocolate. It's because I was either stressed or exhausted. So what you really want to do is think to yourself, why are you going for a snack? Why are you craving salty stuff, sweet stuff, or food in general? Are you actually hungry, or is it just in combination with another emotion? Are you angry? Are you stressed? Are you lonely? Are you tired? And if it turns out that you're actually hungry, then yeah, you want to go for some food. But if it's associated with one of those other emotions, then it's not worth it.
One of the things that I heard when I was on the client side was my coach asked me to think about a meal that I really didn't like, but that was really good for my macros. And so when I got hungry and really wanted to snack and indulge, to ask myself, am I really hungry enough to eat? For me, it was fish and steamed broccoli. It's not my favorite. It's got some pretty strong flavors that I can tolerate, but I don't really love to dive into a plate full of fish and steamed broccoli. So when I was feeling hungry and it wasn't a planned meal time, to just kind of stop and think, am I that hungry? Would I sit down and tear into a plate of fish and broccoli right now if it was in front of me? Because if not, then maybe I can wait.
Yes. So have that meal in your mind of, if you're actually hungry, you would eat it. But if you're not all the way hungry, you're going to probably put the food to the side. That's a good one. All right. So what we kind of want to think of is over time. You want to identify those triggers, those patterns, the situations that you're coming into where you're craving certain foods or you just want to eat. So you want to identify those triggers. Is it watching TV? When you sit down and watch TV, do you typically have ice cream with it? Do you typically make hot chocolate, or do you typically have popcorn? Do you come to 3 p.m. every day and get exhausted and you're just craving chocolate? Or is it more social gatherings? Is it when you go out with your buddies and you have a beer, does it automatically then come with wings and other things like that you don't necessarily want to be eating? So over time, you want to identify those patterns and those triggers, so then you can come and develop some kind of a plan for those situations and kind of correct them.
Yeah. For me, one of my trigger times when I was at work, working in a school, was like that 2 o'clock hour, because we're getting close to dismissal. We've had a really busy day, and you're almost to the point where you get to kind of take a deep breath and relax, but you have to get through that last hour and a half of school. And so I'd have to have a strategy for like 2 o'clock, or else I'd be finding the teacher's chocolate that I kept in my office to give to them when they were stressed, and I'd be eating it myself. So at 2 o'clock, I'd make a cup of decaf coffee and get myself out of my office and go take a walk and visit some classrooms and see some kids. And that was usually enough of that physical distraction, getting a walk in. There was some social distraction, and there was also some of that palate distraction by having a cup of coffee. So those 3 things helped kind of fend off that. Not 100% of the time, because nobody's perfect, but 90% of the time it helped fend off those 2 o'clock chocolate urges that would strike pretty much every day.
Yeah. So right now, especially, like, we're in just a very odd place and odd time, and we're finding ourselves at home. We're finding ourselves working from home. I typically work, I'm in my kitchen right now, and this is where I typically work, which is a very inconvenient place because it's very close to the food. So not only do we have to think about those triggers that we are coming across in our regular lives, but we're met with a whole bunch of new triggers now. So being so close to the kitchen, not being as active as before, being bored, not having, as much on our mind or on our plate. So when we talk about identifying those triggers and developing a plan, coming up with a regular schedule that you can follow during this quarantine time has been huge for many of us. And we've worked with a lot of our clients on this, is getting into the habit of, waking up at the same time of day, going to bed at the same time of day, just to kind of put your body into that rhythm. And then, a lot of you are very active people, or are doing our workouts or getting outside, going on walks, going on hikes, doing what you can, fitting that into your day somewhere as well. But then when you fall into those things like watching TV or that downtime, or when you're bored, come up with some other things that you can go to, that you can try before you go for the food. So like if you're a knitter, keeping your hands busy, knitting, do some mobility work or stretching while you're watching TV, so you're not going for the ice cream or the popcorn. Get up and leave the house, leave the kitchen, and go for a walk instead. So you kind of remove yourself for a little bit before you automatically go for the snack drawer. And like Jenn said, make a cup of coffee or a cup of herbal tea, change your palate, and just have a plan that way. Okay. Anything else to add before I go for my jar?
No, why don't you hit the urge jar, and then we can talk about some times when it is good to snack and some good options for that.
Yes, because we do snack. Let's be real. All right. So One of my absolute favorite strategies for snacking is called the urge jar. And we've shared this with a lot of clients before. We've had a lot of success with it. So what you do is you get yourself a jar. You can, make it pretty, make it fancy, whatever you like. It could be big, it could be small, doesn't matter. And then you just need tiny objects to put into your jar. So it can be as simple as dried beans. It could be dog food. It could be pebbles. It could be beads, anything like that. And with this jar, you keep it somewhere where you can see it, where it's going to be prominent, so it can sit like on your windowsill in your kitchen. And every time an urge comes along that doesn't fit in with your food rules. So what I mean by food rules is if you're a macro person and you are trying to eat, stay away from, you don't have high fat foods in your diet. Your fat numbers are low and you have to keep your fats low. So high fat items probably wouldn't be part of your food rules. If you're going for a whole food approach, items with a barcode aren't going to be in your food rules. If you're just trying to eat clean and eat healthy, chocolate cake probably isn't going to be in your typical daily food rules. So if you come across an urge for chocolate cake, and you're, kind of battling with yourself saying, well, I shouldn't really eat it. And it's like coming up against willpower. You're just trying to not eat it. What you do is you acknowledge the craving, like, all right, I really want this chocolate cake. Set yourself a timer, either on your watch or on your phone, for 10 minutes, and then leave the kitchen. And you have to go do something. You could read a book, you can go for a walk, you could do some laundry, make your bed, do whatever you need to do, take a bath. After 10 minutes, once your timer goes off, think back to that craving and think if you still really want it. If you really want it, you can choose to go for it. If you all of a sudden get this feeling like, oh, I forgot, I don't really need it, I'm not really hungry for it, and you feel like you can like hold out and not have it, what you do is you take one of your objects and you put it in your jar. And what this is over time is the items in your jar, the beads, will build up. And that is a positive reinforcer for your brain to see, wow, look at how many times that I went through and I didn't give in to temptation. And by the time you have 100 beads in your jar, that can equate to like 20 pounds that you didn't put on because you held out for that craving. You realized that you didn't actually need it. Now, but it does also, if you do go for the chocolate cake, you don't have to take a piece out. You don't have to, empty your jar. It's just when you're able to withhold and not have that urge or give into that urge, you get to reward yourself. And it's just a cool thing to see that build up over time. So I think everybody should have a jar.
I think I need a jar.
Good, that's great. Before we move on to some swaps and some good snacking, does anybody have any questions that they want to throw out there? You can either put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Cool. All right.
I know when we do these at school, too, if you stick your hand in the camera and wave, you can usually see
it. How many pages though? All right, so we'll move on. We'll keep going.
So sometimes it's okay to snack, and snacking isn't always a bad thing. So one of the things that helps with snacking is making sure that your snacks are balanced. So a lot of our snacks tend to be really high carbohydrate, sometimes high carb and high fat. So when you're thinking of planning a snack, try to make it something that's balanced. Try to incorporate some protein along with the carbohydrate and the fat. So maybe you're having veggie straws, which I brought as another prop. Maybe also have a cheese stick, or maybe have some deli turkey, or have something that includes a little bit of protein so that it's more filling, so that it keeps you satisfied longer, and so that you're approaching all three of those macro groups in that little mini meal that you're going to have.
Yeah. And by balancing and including all three of the macronutrients, you're going to keep yourself fuller longer. Like the protein is going to fill you up. The fat is going to slow the digestion to make sure that you kind of sustain and go a little longer. So if you have pure carbs or just a piece of fruit, it's going to spike your blood sugar and you're going to be hungry in a little while. But if you balance it out with all three parts, you're going to feel a lot better. So that'll help. Next thing to remember when snacking is veggies are your friend. Use the veggies as volume. Veggies are a great way to fill up and have that sensation of being able to chew a lot and eat a lot of food and not really have to worry about it. If you're having things with the veggies like hummus, that's great. That's going to balance it out. So veggies, you've got your carbs, hummus, you've got your fat and a little bit of protein. So that's a good combination. You just want to make sure you measure like the other things like the hummus, because that can pile up. And then the veggies, you can just eat unlimited veggies pretty much. And that's going to, actually fill up your body, which is great.
Yeah, when my clients keep telling me that they're not feeling full enough and they're feeling really hungry, veggies are the first thing I recommend. For any meal or any snack, if you can start adding some leafy greens or some strips of bell pepper or add some carrot sticks or some cucumber sticks, and you can increase that volume of food so you feel fuller and you're really not upping your macros by too much because they're veggies. They're pretty low macro and they're great for your body. They've got vitamins and phytonutrients and fiber, which is really good for you. So you can always go to the veggies. The next tip we have is to make sure that you portion snacks as snacks. And this goes along with put it in a bowl and leave the room, because when you're eating out of a container or out of a bag or a box, it's really easy to overdo a snack food. So if you check the serving size or put it into your Fitness Pal and get the macros that you need and portion it so that it truly is a snack, you won't overdo it on that snack.
Yeah, and pay attention. If you're actually hungry, eat a meal. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a small portion. Just kind of pay attention and assess your body. Checking in on the chat. So many people are excited about this urge jar. So excited. Go for it. And Tyler is talking about her favorite her favorite snack is an adult snack plate of deli meat, hummus, olives, carrots, and a couple crackers. It's perfect. And Courtney's favorite is apple, banana, and peanut butter. So you got your protein, your fat, and your carb. Awesome.
Nice.
Our next tip is just to eat mindfully. So often, this is why we get out the bowl and we don't just take the box or the bag, is because when you have the box or the bag, you're just going to eat. You're not going to think about it, and you're not even enjoying it. It's not worth even snacking. If you're actually thinking about what you're eating, sitting, enjoying it, then it's going to be better. And if you're watching TV and eating, oftentimes you'll eat without even remembering that you ate, and then it doesn't make it worth it.
One of the things going on for a lot of us right now is that the lines between work and home are really, really blurred. And so I know for myself, when this first started, I was kind of checking email all day long into the night. And trying to monitor how my teachers were doing and how my kids were doing. And so I'd find myself sitting down to have a snack or even a meal, and I'd have my phone and I'd be scrolling and checking to see if there were any new emergency situations that had come up. And I really needed to make sure that I drew the line to put the technology away and turn the screens off and enjoy when I was eating, especially eating my family, and paying attention to that and not be distracted, or else the whole meal would go by and it wasn't even like I had paid any attention to the fact that I was eating and enjoying it. So eating mindfully also so much more important right now, I think, than it ever has been. Absolutely. Our next tip is to beware of liquid sugar. So when you're looking at your snacks, especially drinks and beverages, I think we all have a little bit of a sweet tooth to some extent, some of us more than others, and those sweet treats can be really appealing, but when you have that sugar component to them, they can really trigger more sugar cravings, because once you've had something sweet, you tend to want more of something sweet, and they can also pack on the carbohydrates, even in liquid form. So be careful of sugar in your beverages.
Yeah. And the body doesn't recognize liquid sugar as calories, which is absurd, because you can take in, if you think about a soda, and how many grams of sugar it has, your body is not recognizing that it's taking in those calories. So it's just going to be taking them in. You're going to accumulate a lot of energy that you then have to burn, but it's not going to understand that. So it just makes you more hungry, and it doesn't help. So our next tip is just to keep portion sizes in mind. Again, like if we're talking with this, we're talking things like hummus and peanut butter
Mm.
and jelly on a rice cake, like all those things. If you eyeball a portion and then go through and actually measure a portion, you're going to see that you are extremely off. And it's a hard realization, but it's super important to see what the serving size actually is versus what you're eating.
Yeah. And when you are tracking and measuring, really going by a unit of volume or a unit of mass, like grams, is much more reliable than trying to use like a teaspoon. I don't know if anybody out there is a baker, but I think if you bake, you know how off somebody's cup of flour might be from somebody else's cup of flour. And to be really precise, you really need to weigh it on your food scale and track it with grams or ounces, because those kinds of measures that are more ambiguous can really add up over time.
Mm-hmm.
Our next tip is to plan some treats into your day, even if you're trying to lean out and um, you're keeping an eye on your intake. It doesn't mean you don't want to enjoy good things every once in a while. We all do, and you can plan those in. And sometimes that can really help if you know that at 4 o'clock you've programmed in that apple with peanut butter and you're looking forward to it all day, or you've got a serving of 28 grams of veggie sticks, or whatever the treat might be for you. I brought another one of my favorites just to show you. This is a mushroom-based cocoa mix by Four Sigmatic. It has reishi in it, but it's a pretty low macro treat. It's 25 calories per packet of cocoa. If I know that I have this at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever I've decided to put it in for the day, then sometimes I can hold off on having something else because this is part of my plan and I know it's coming up. So I can look forward to it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And if you have a special event, do the same kind of thing. Like if you are going to a birthday party, like plan in that cupcake. That's okay. And just, make it fit and adjust the rest of your day so you don't throw everything else out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Our last tip is just to keep in mind that most snack bars are the equivalent of a candy bar. So even Kind bars, Luna bars, all those bars, they have a ton of sugar in them. And it's basically, the equivalent of a candy bar. You can choose so many better options. And we're going to share some of our favorites with you as well.
Yeah. I know when I had people go through the Whole30, there were even some bars that were Whole30 approved, but we warned people just to be really careful of using them frequently because they're just packed with natural sugar. I mean, they're fruit-based, they have dates for sweeteners, and it's still a ton of sugar.
Yeah, dried fruit is the sugar without it's the fruit without the fiber, which is sugar and just pure carbs. Yeah.
Sara, we do have a question that came up. I don't know if you want to do that before we jump into snacks.
Yes.
Nicole was asking if there's a protein or meal replacement shake that you recommend.
I like to take protein shakes and make them into something better. So yes, you could take protein powder and you can put it with water and you can drink it, but then you're just getting the protein. So in order to make it into like a meal replacement, what I'll do is I'll add in those carbs and that fat, and just boost it up so it's going to be sustained, like help me sustain throughout, the mealtime duration. So Bren's chiming in, Ascent makes great dairy options. So they make a whey and a casein. Whey it's more fast acting. It's great for right after a workout. Casein is one of those things where it's going to be slower release and you're going to want to, if you're looking to put on muscle, or if you're looking to kind of sustain and stay full, that's going to be a better option. Ascent is great. I also like Ancient Nutrition bone broth protein because I can't do the dairy. I have dairy issues. So that's a great option. And Kat saying avocado in your shake makes it super smooth and boosts that fat. So that's an awesome option as well. Cool.
And egg whites, I think you can add those as well to bump up the protein as a non-dairy option. I know I do Ascent as well because it's sweetened with monk fruit, which is a better choice for sweetener in my eyes anyway.
And for the whey, I'm going to share in a little while something that I do to turn it into an alternative for ice cream. The casein, I like to mix it with yogurt at the end of the night and a little bit of almond milk to thin it out and make like a casein pudding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a nice treat at the end of the day. You can top it with raspberries or, crushed pecans and get your protein, fat, and carb in before bed. And it fills you up and kind of keeps you satisfied for quite a while.
Yeah. Some good options being thrown out in the chat there right now. That's awesome. Cool. So we just put together some of our go-to snacks that's in the document, but we're going to talk about them quickly. Just some things that, are staples for us that we go to, are, just good options. So Jen, the first one's yours, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, so kind of like the adult, what did you call it? Adult plate? Adult snack plate. So we did these growing up. We called them Deli platters. And I've just modified it to meet my macros. So one of my favorites right now is mini bell peppers. You don't even have to chop them up, which is great. Some deli turkey, which is a pretty low fat protein option. Whatever grams of cheese I can eke out. And then if I can afford the carbs, some whole grain crackers. And that makes a nice little deli plate. Sometimes I can afford some almonds or some pecans to throw in the mix. So that's balanced protein, fat, and carb. You're getting some fiber from the veggies. It's a nice little snack.
Yeah, it's like a modern day adult Lunchable.
Exactly.
One of my go-tos is rice cakes with powdered peanut butter. Actually, I'll do like rice cakes and with like deli meat and mustard. If I'm going for like protein, carb, and a little bit of fat. You can even put some cheese on there if you can. I stay away from the dairy. But powdered peanut butter is my go-to. Powdered peanut butter, if you haven't used it before. So peanut butter has a ton of fat. I don't know what they do. This is the size that I buy. It's huge. You get it on Amazon. This is the best tasting one. I'd be happy to, I'm sure Bren could put in the link in the chat. I get it on Amazon. I measure it out. You mix it with a little bit of water until you get the consistency that you want. I swear this tastes like the inside of a Reese's. It is delicious, and it has, in a serving, only 1.5 grams of fat. So if you're counting your macros and you have low fat numbers, this is an awesome option for you. It's got 5 grams of carbs, 5 grams of protein. It's delicious. So that on a rice cake is like one of my go-to snacks.
So my next go-to snack was avocado toast with egg on top. This is breakfast, but it's also a really good snack if you have a favorite bread. I like the Dave's breads. Just make a slice of toast, cut up whatever grams of avocado you can have for your fat. There's some fiber in there too. And then I like the egg soft boiled. So when you cut into it, it kind of gets all over the avocado toast, a little salt and pepper, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. And in the chat, Rihanna, I don't think they make a chocolate one. It's also peanuts. And the chocolate peanut one is super, super good, especially if you want it as like a dessert. I do it with like, I'll chop up strawberries or raspberries, and it's like chocolate dipped fruit. It's delicious. I don't know that they make an almond one. I have had almond ones. I haven't found one that I would buy again. They're okay. This is just my go-to favorite. Another favorite is mixed berries and yogurt. So you have the carbs in the yogurt, you've got the protein and the fat. It's a great option. You can fool yourself into thinking it's like a parfait or ice cream or something like that. A favorite yogurt of mine, like I love the Faye Greek yogurts. They're great. If you don't have the fat content, my second favorite one is called Too Good, TWO, good. And I think it's 80 calories for a little cup. It's not a little cup, it's like a regular cup. And the carbs are super low, but the sugar is really low, which I really like about it.
Sometimes you don't want to prep anything. You don't want to toast a piece of toast, cook an egg. So easy cheese stick and an apple. You're getting some carbs, you're getting some fiber. The cheese stick has a little protein, a little fat. So that can be a really nice grab and go option for a snack.
Mm-hmm. And then,
sorry if my dog's really loud.
And then with the powdered peanut butter, you can throw it on toast. You could do it with, crackers, gluten-free, regular. It's up to you. But our last one of my favorites is air popped popcorn. If you don't have an air popper, get an air popper. The microwave popcorns are terrible for you. There's a lot of additives. There's a lot of crap in there, just a lot of stuff you don't need. I have an air popper, salt, a little avocado oil or butter on there. It's delicious. And what I really love to do is if I'm craving something sweet and I want the volume, so popcorn has volume. I don't know if everybody is familiar with Lily's chocolate. It is sugar-free chocolate. It's keto friendly if you're into keto. It does have some fat content, so I do have to save my fat numbers, but it's sweetened with erythritol and stevia. And it comes in all different flavors. You can find it at Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Adams has it, although very expensive if you're local. I think I've seen it at Tops. And I just melt this over the stove. I weigh it, I melt it. I put all my popcorn on a cookie sheet with parchment underneath. And then I just melt the chocolate and I drizzle it over it. And I've got like all of this popcorn with a little bit of chocolate. It's got the salt, it's got the sweet. That's like my ultimate favorite dessert. Very good. All right.
Right. So we had some swaps for some favorites, right?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. How about I tackle the ice cream?
Okay.
So ice cream's a go-to snack that a lot of us are trying to avoid because of the macros involved. There's some things that you can make instead, like a protein milkshake. You can take your favorite protein powder. You can blend it with ice. You can add some almond milk. You could add a frozen banana if you want, however you'd like the consistency to be. And you can blend it up into an ice cream alternative or a milkshake alternative. I tend to make kind of a froyo. I'll add vanilla protein powder and some frozen berries, some frozen banana for consistency, and a splash of almond milk. And you can make a nice thick, almost like a smoothie bowl, but even a little thicker. So it's like a sorbet. And it's got protein in it. So you're hitting your protein, your fat. You could add a little bit of coconut milk or some avocado, and your carbs from the fruit.
Awesome. If you're also just craving some ice cream and don't want to go there, I don't know if you have made frozen yogurt drops, but you take a cookie sheet again, line it with parchment paper, which is my best friend, and you just put your yogurt into like a Ziploc bag, cut off the end, just so you have like that pastry bag kind of option. And you just make these, you can make them as big as you want, anywhere between like a nickel and a quarter. And you just make dollops of yogurt and you freeze them and they make like yogurt chips and they are delicious. They're cold, they melt in your mouth. It's just like ice cream. It's definitely a good swap. All right.
So we kind of talked about the nice cream already. That's the version of ice cream that's frozen banana, almond milk, and cinnamon. So you don't even have to throw a protein powder in if you've maybe hit your protein grams for the day, but you've got some macros left and you're feeling like ice cream, you can make it without the protein powder. And it has some kind of magical quality when you put it in a blender. It gets this consistency that really lends itself well to ice cream. So blending that up with some almond milk and some cinnamon, you can make nice cream.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we're going to talk about the candy people. So I don't know if, there's chocolate people and then there's candy people. Smart sweets are a store-bought option for craving or, getting rid of that sweet tooth, that candy craving. So they make so many different options. So they make sour gummy bears, they make sweet gummy bears, they make ones that are like Sour Patch Kids, where they're gummy bears, but they're coated in, different things. They make Swedish fish, but my favorite are the peach rings. And in these, they have 0 sugar, or actually they have 3 grams of sugar, but again, it's sweetened with stevia. And basically it's prebiotic soluble fiber. So that means those are foods that it goes into your body. It's what feeds your gut. So basically it feeds your gut and then it leaves. It's got 0 grams of fat, 33 grams of carbs, but 28 grams of those carbs are fiber. So that's how much fiber are in these, and 0 grams of protein. It's not a good thing to have all the time, but it is a good option as a, something to have instead of real peach rings, gummy bears, things like that. That's one of my favorites.
Speaking of gummy bears, Sarah, you shared homemade gummy bears with me earlier. Can you talk about those too?
Okay. So I have also, I went through a gummy bear phase. I also make my own gummy bears. Many people are familiar now with collagen. So people will put collagen in their water, a shake. It's really good for your skin, your hair, your nails. Collagen is basically gelatin that has been more processed. So Vital Proteins we should really be sponsored by many of these companies. Vital Proteins is another brand that I really like. They make a collagen powder, which is great. It dissolves in cold water. They also make this gelatin, which is a powder, only this one you have to put into something hot. So I'll put it in my tea, or I will make gummy bears with it. So, it's what's in Jell-O, except for this is the actual good product. This is not the Jell-O gelatin. This is actual from bones. You can make your own, except for this one doesn't have a flavor. And what I do is I take this and I add boiling water, and then I add Everly. And Everly is a drink mix. It's for, I recommend it to people who have a really hard time getting their water in. And with this, there's, it's 0 calories, it's natural flavors, it's sweetened with stevia, and it's got like beets and magnesium and potassium in it. And it's a good option instead of like Crystal Light. This is the all natural version. And this I get on Amazon also. And 1 pack lasts me forever. Combine a little bit of this, and some water. And many people have those like silicone molds. The ice cube trays. You can use ice cube trays. You can make it in a flat pan and then just slice them up, and they are just like gummy bears.
Another candy option, you mentioned the Lily's chocolate before, so taking any kind of berry, especially like strawberries. What's better than chocolate covered strawberries? But again, if you can melt down the Lily's chocolate and you can dip your berries in it, and then you could throw those in the freezer or the refrigerator to get nice and solid and cold. That's a smart, sweet swap as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned the Lily's chocolate. They come in chips. They come in different flavors. Those are really good. And then if you're craving something salty like potato chips, there is, you can always make on Pinterest, there's a million recipes for kale chips, zucchini chips. We have on our Instagram page, we've made zucchini chips before and kale chips. So there's recipes for those, but also popcorn. And I think Kat put up a good idea. She said Parmesan cheese on popcorn, super good. Or a little bit of cinnamon and butter, also good. On our Instagram, we've also made sriracha popcorn, which is pretty tasty. So if you have craving for something spicy or just tart.
Everything bagel seasoning. Oh.
Yes,
I was going to add that everything bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's is a really nice option too. You can put that on your avocado toast, but you could definitely put that on your popcorn.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So those are our tips and our tricks and some of our favorites, things that are in our bag. Does anybody have any questions in our chat? There's a lot of other good ideas that people are throwing out there, which is great. Any questions for us though, or other ideas? You can unmute, shout it out. No, feeling good? Cool, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for our first quarantine chat seminar. This is good. On Sunday, we're actually going to be hosting Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be hosting another nutrition seminar. This one is going to be geared though on the Whoop. So you may have seen on our Instagram and our Facebook page. Yeah, how many people actually have the Whoop?
A lot of Whoops showing up now.
So Whoop is a wearable fitness tracking device that we have partnered with in their pilot program. And it tracks your activity, your sleep. It is actually deemed the most accurate in tracking sleep, and the sleep analytics are insane. And we have a whole bunch of coaches with them. And if you are interested in getting one, or if you took advantage of our offer for $30 off and are just kind of on the fence and want to learn more about the analytics, Bren is super nerdy with the Whoop and knows all the ins and outs and the tricks. So she is going to be talking with Mike, one of our other coaches, and Courtney on Sunday, everything Whoop. So she's going to dig into some details there. So in the chat, I'm actually going to link the sign up for that. So if you're interested, you can sign up for that one. Oh, and I just sent it to one person. All right, so I'll send that to everybody as well. All right, so if you don't have any questions for us, thanks for coming. This has been great. Oh, Kat. Yes, Kat. You're gonna have to unmute.
Sorry. Hi. How can we watch this again?
All right, we are going to post this somewhere. It is recorded. I have to figure out how to get it up. Heather is my, social media guru. So we will get it up and we will put it out there on Instagram where it is, so you can find it and you can share it. So if you think that there's anybody else who would benefit from all this, feel free to share. Cool. Anything else? All right, if you guys don't have any questions, thank you so much for coming. If you do have questions and want to kind of hang out, we'll stop the recording. And if you either want to talk about like what we do, nutrition coaching, what that entails, if you have a food question for us, a snack question for us, a product question for us, feel free to stick around and we'll answer that the best we can. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.